Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of Game Night Date Night. And this series is in collaboration with Games and Couples. Games and Couples do amazing things. They concentrate on couple counseling, and one of the big tools that they use during their session is board games. Board game is a great way for people to connect that is easy to get to, and it's inexpensive as well. And there's so many different games and so many different themes so that it can appeal to everybody. And one of the things that Games and Couple has done that is really interesting is they've created their own rating system to help determine which game would best suit a couple depending on what they're looking for. And that is on 3 different aspects. The first one is conversation and connection for potential. Connection potential, wow. I'm having trouble saying that. So conversation and connection potential. And this rating is from 1 to 5. Now keep in mind, 1 is not bad and 5 is not good. It just depends on what people need. So a game that is very intricate, has a lot going on or a lot of actions going on, is not going to have time to have a pleasant conversation while you play. While some games will be more low-key or a little bit more a lot more downtime while you're playing so that you can maintain a pleasant conversation. Depending on where you are as a couple, maybe there's been a lot of conflict and having a lot of conversation because things are tense is not the best time right now, but you still want to make time for each other as a couple and quality time together. So having a lower rating here might be best. Or maybe this is the time that you guys come together and catch up with each other while you're doing an activity together and you're looking for a higher rating here. The next one that we have is the getting to know you. Some games are going to be very much, I do my thing, you do your thing, and we play kind of each on our own board, and there's very little interaction. That's going to have a lower rating in this category just because there's not that much opportunity to get to know one another. While you may have some games that has a lot more interaction, you kind of get to see how the other player plays, or even has a lot of revealing things about your partner that'll come up while you play, so then that would have a higher rating there. Maybe you're a newer couple and you're still trying to learn from each other. Maybe that's not so important to you, or maybe you're a couple that kind of spending more time together and trying to learn about each other again. And then the last rating that we have is potential for hurt feelings and conflict. Let's face it, this is a board game. We're trying to come to a winner most of the time. And depending on how the game comes about, that might create a lot of opportunity for someone to get hurt or to create conflict. And if your relationship is already strained, this might be where you're looking for a lower rating or a lower rating. But maybe you're trying to work on conflict resolution, and doing that in a board game, which is a controlled environment, might be something that's good for you guys as a couple. And then in that case, you'd be looking for a higher rating here. So every week on for Games and Couples, we have a game of the week. So in this video, I'm going to review each game that we've discussed this past month. And the first one is Ash's Rise of the Pheonixborn. Oh my god, I love this game. This one is top 5 in my most favorite game ever. I purchased this one on Look Alone when I came across it, and I was not disappointed. It plays a little bit like Magic the Gathering, so you have a deck of cards depending on the character that you've selected, the deck you get. And then you have dice that you'll roll the dice, and those will determine which actions you can do, because each card's going to have different requirements to activate, and then you'll have to spend those dice, and depending on what you roll, what you can activate. Now if you get the top roll, the top value of that dice can be utilized as top value, medium value, or low value. So you can kind of spend those dice that way, and then you'll have your Pheonixborn character. You'll also have some allies that you can put into your battlefield. You'll have some spell that will go in your spell book, and some of those spell will conjure creature that will also go into your battlefield. And it's a battle game. You are playing trying to be the last man standing, so attacking each other. It's such a great game. I love this one, but I should be pointing out that Lee does not feel the same about this one. He felt this one didn't have enough of direction. So in this game, when it's your turn, it's like, okay, well, you have these dice you can spend, you have these cards you got, what do you want to do? And you can do a main action and a side action, and you keep going until you run out of potential. So what do you want to do? Well, you could do this or this or this or this. So there's no direct set path that you should be taking, so a little bit more sandbox in that way. And for him, that was too overwhelming. He didn't really enjoy that aspect, while I personally loved it. So that's something to mention, right? Not always is a game going to work for both of you. But in this one, let's go look at the rating. So for conversation and potential for connection, I've put this one at a 3 out of 5 because you're playing your game, you're taking turn, you can maintain a conversation while you're playing the game in between making the decision of what you want to play. So that it's about a 3, so that's why I give that one. For the getting to know you, I've also put this one at a 3 out of 5 because it's a lot of interaction. You're attacking each other, how you react to that, the type of move that you'll be doing. You know, like you can learn a lot about your partner while playing a game like that. And then for hurt feelings and conflict, I've put this one at a 3 because, again, it's an attacking game. You're attacking each other. Could that create hurt feelings? Sure, but are you expecting it? Of course, that's the whole point of the game. So on your turn or on your partner's turn, if you're wondering, I wonder what they're going to do, the answer is they're going to attack you. That's the whole point of the game, or they're going to set themselves up so that they can attack you. So being that this is what this game is about, I find it's less hurtful when you are being attacked then, because of course you're going to be attacked. That's the whole point of the game. Now let me show you some of the picture. This is the art on the box of the game when I first saw it. This is the original publication, and it's so beautiful. And they just recently republished this one, and it's now Ashes Reborn. They've done a few changes to it, just a few cards have changed, and they've tweaked a bit of the gameplay, but otherwise it's very similar. And they actually also created a Reborn upgrade pack that you can upgrade your original game with. But this comes with a bunch of custom dice, which are so beautiful, so satisfying to play with. And that was Ash's Rise of the Pheonixborn. Then the next game we talked about was Canvas. Canvas is such a neat, pretty game to play. And you're basically your artist, and you're collecting these clear cards that you're going to try to put together in different combination to get the pattern along the bottom. And each time you play the game, you'll have different things that you'll flip into different things you're trying to accomplish. It could be that you're trying to get 2 matching symbols, but 2 pairs of 2 matching symbols. So 2 triangles and 2 squares or something. Or you're trying to get one of each color represented in the painting. Or you're trying to have all the different symbols represented. Depending on the card that you play, it'll change from time to time. And then when you put your painting together, you'll kind of have a look at what requirements you've matched, and you get ribbons to score your paintings with. And when you've created 3 paintings, the game is over. This one is so satisfying just because it looks so neat, and all the artwork and putting it together, so it's a neat game. Now for conversation and connection potential, I've given this one a 4. This is a very low-key game. You can have a whole conversation as you just kind of gently pick up the cards that you want to add and contemplate on what you're going to be doing. So there's a lot of opportunity to hold a conversation while playing this game. For getting to know you, I've given this one a 2 out of 5. You're doing your own thing, they're doing their own thing, so there's not tons and tons of interaction here, but when you start showing the painting, how you put it together, the way you describe it, then there's a little bit more opportunity for that. And then for hurt feelings and conflict, I've given this one a 1 out of 5. There's very little conflict here. The only thing is you'd be like, I think I'd like to get that card, and they beat you to it, and that's it. There's really, this isn't a take that game. You're making your own painting, they're doing their own painting, so it's very low potential for hurt feelings in this one. And let me show you some more pictures. So this one kind of shows you have the board where the clear cards are available. So, and you also have these little palettes that you have, and you can spend your palette to skip the next available card and grab the card that's a little bit further down. So if you did want the third card, you would put palette tokens on the first two, pick up the third card, and then add that to your hand. Whenever you reach 5 cards, you must put a painting together, but you can start putting a painting together the moment you have 3 cards available. And then you'll just kind of see which way you want to layer them, so that see what the symbol is going to show, because depending on the way you layer it, some things will get covered up, and it's all about what's at the bottom that's going to be scored. And let me show you a picture. So this was a painting. You can see along the bottom, the color yellow had never been wasn't part of the painting here. It wasn't part of the symbols that we revealed, but we had the 3 squares, we had a sun, a triangle, and then the multicolor one, and this in the end ended up scoring on 3 different aspects. So there's 3 ribbons there. So you'll be doing that with all of your cards, and then at the end of the game you tally up the ribbons. Each ribbons are worth different value, and then whoever has the most point is the winner. The next game we talked about was Targi. Targi is a 2-player game, and it's one that I've heard about often and I had never had the chance to play, so I actually got a copy this month. And it has such a unique mechanism to it, because you build the grid along the outside, and then you have cards that go in the middle. And on your turn, you have 2 meeple that you'll be playing, or 3 meeple that you'll be playing, and you'll put the one along the edges, and then eventually you'll put the 3 meeple, and wherever a meeple meets up, where the card would kind of meet up the row and the column that's the card you're activating for yourself, and you can pick up that card. Now, depending on what needs to happen, you may have to spend resources to get that, but you also get to activate the card that's along the edges that you've put your meeple on. And there's a lot of opportunity to block another player. So I was like, I think he's going for that. He put the one there, so I'm going to go here so that he can't put the meeple on that column, because I just claimed it. So then you may have to kind of change your strategy a little bit on the fly. But this is a neat game. And then as you're collecting these cards, you'll be creating your own grid in front of you as well, and then you'll be scoring that at the end of the game. It was neat. I really enjoyed it. I had never played this one until this month. So, and even though it's a game that's been around for quite a while, but it was cool. So for conversation and connection potential, I've given this one a 4 out of 5. Just because you're placing the meeple, you're picking the cards. When me and Lee played, we had all sorts of conversation while playing this, because it's not a very, you're just picking your spot. So it's not tons and tons going on. So you can definitely maintain a conversation while playing this game. For the getting to know you, I've given this one a 3 out of 5. You can see what they're picking, how they're making a decision, how they react to you making your decision. And so there's a lot of opportunity to kind of get learning a little bit more about each other in this one. And then for hurt feelings and conflict, I'm giving this one a 3 out of 5, because if you know I'm going for that card and you block me, now, is that something that bothers you? Yeah, maybe it does, right? So there's opportunity for that to be happening here. And if your relationship is already a little bit strained, that might feel extra hurtful, right? So I'm giving that one a 3 out of 5. Now, let me show you a few more pictures here. So you can see all along the side here, and there's a robber token that kind of goes around, and so every round one of those cards is going to be blocked, and it's also kind of the time tracker for the game. And then the next game we have was 7 Wonders Duel. So 7 Wonders is a game that's been around for a long time, and it can play up to 7 players. And it's a neat game. And it's a card drafting game. And that's kind of where the thing that was most interesting is, you're drafting all these cards, you're creating this tableau in front of you. And when you're collecting resources, you can utilize the resources of the people that's on this side and on this side. So how do you create that drafting kind of intriguing mechanism, I guess, in a 2-player game? Well, this is where 7 Wonders Duel comes in, and it's super interesting because they've created a bit of the solitaire setup with the cards, and some rows are face up, some rows are face down, and you can't collect a card that's covered up until it's been cleared out, and you can't flip a card that's face down until it's been cleared up and all the cards covering it have been picked up also. And this plays in 3 ages, so you'll have different cards set up three times, kind of in different patterns as well, depending on what you're playing. And you're collecting cards, getting resources, getting military strength, gaining access to different sciences, and there's different ways that you can win. Now, if you go all the way to the end of the game, you'll be scoring points, and whoever has the most point is the winner. But if you ever get, because as you get military strength card, you'll be moving that shield away and towards you. And then if you, kind of like a tug of war, so if you ever get all the way to the end, then you get the military victory. Or if you've collected enough science to create a whole set, then you can activate a scientific victory. And there's ways to kind of win that way as well. And it could be that you get so caught up concentrating on one way that you don't realize your partner is getting ahead in the another way, and it's kind of a really neat, interesting game. And then the way that it's all set up on the table, it looks so cool. So for conversation and connection potential, I'm giving this one a 3 out of 5 because you have your card, you'll draft a card, you'll play your card. So it's not a very hectic or action-driven game, so I find there's a lot of opportunity to have a conversation while playing this game. For the getting to know you, I've put this one at a 2 out of 5. You're keeping a lot of what you're doing in this game secret, not to reveal what your strategy is per se, so that kind of keeps that a little bit down. For hurt feelings and conflict, I'm giving this one a 3 out of 5, mainly because, you know, that military victory, you know, if something like that happens, it could be a little frustrating. But let me show you some more pictures here of a full game setup. So you have that tug of war board like at the top there, and the science token on top of that. Then you kind of have your solitaire cards all set up that you'll be drafting from. You have the 7 wonders you can build, and then on the front of you is where you're kind of building your own tableau or your own resources. Next game I have here is Chronicle of Crime, and I love this game. And this is an app-driven game. It's basically a whodunit. There's been a murder. You're part of the police force and you're trying to figure out what happened. But you're not just trying to find out who done it. You're trying to find out what was the motive, who was the accomplice. There's all sorts of different things you need to uncover. And that is so interesting. Now, you're doing this using your phone because it's app driven. So when you go on location, you'll scan the location QR code to come there. And then some information will be revealed. Maybe there's a witness there. Maybe you're at the scene, the crime scene, and you can actually view the crime scene. So be like, hey, I'm viewing the crime scene. And you got your phone and you're looking around and you can kind of point out all the stuff that you're seeing. It's like, hey, well, there's a body there, and then there's a weapon, and I see food, and there's paper, and you know, so anything that you see, you'll be pulling out the card about it. Then you can go and scan these cards, and they'll be like, no, that's just trash, don't worry about it. It's like, oh, those papers have very interesting information on it. Add that to your clues. And so you're collecting these clues and visiting these different locations, and then maybe there's a witness that was there, so then you scan on the character card QR code, and now you're talking to the victim. And then while you're in the conversation mode, you can scan those other things you come across. Well, I came across these papers, what can you tell me about it? Or you can scan the victim card and say, well, what can you tell me about this victim? I was like, well, we've heard about this gentleman and maybe he's a suspect. What can you tell me about that? And it's so interesting on how this all works, and you're kind of getting this story unraveled. And honestly, they say you can play this at a higher player count. I like this one at 2 players. You have one person that can be pulling out cards, one person that'll be, so, and it doesn't feel too, because if you have more players, you'll have one player that's kind of like, okay, well, I'm waiting for my turn to look at some of the stuff, or, you know, and you might end up having not so much to do. So 2-player for me, that's the sweet spot with this game. I love it. It's so cool. Now, conversation and connection potential, I'm giving this one a 1 out of 5. There's a murder going on. There's a story that's getting unraveled, and you should be paying attention to that. So this is not a game to play just to have a nice, lovely conversation while playing. The getting to know you, I'm giving this one a 4 out of 5. It's really interesting to see what their the way that your partner thinks. Like, okay, well, gee, I think we should probably go and talk to the mother. He's like, what? No, because of this. Like, we probably should go and talk to the ex-boyfriend, or, you know, so, and just see how they think, how they unravel the murder. And, you know, so that's very interesting. And there's a lot of opportunity to getting to know about your partner that way. Hurt feelings and conflict, I'm giving this one a 3 out of 5. It's very easy to get so excited about the story and kind of take alpha mode. And maybe you'll be like, okay, well, I think we should, no, let's go there. And then you've already started scanning, and now all of a sudden you've taken control. You're not really listening to what I'm saying anymore. And that could develop hurt feelings that way. So be careful and aware of that, because it's so easy to get overwhelmed or kind of take that alpha mode in a game like this. Now let me show you pictures. So this is what the box of the original game looks like. There's been a lot of extra, I would say expansion, but they're standalone, so there's a lot of other levels, I guess, that's been created. This picture is from the 1400 one. So the 1400 takes place in earlier times, so the gameplay is still all the same, but the story is more historical. There's the 1900, and in the 1900 you're a journalist and your uncle is a detective in the 1900s, so it has like that whole gumshoe kind of feel to it, and it kind of has a different feel to the story. And there's a 2400 that just came out. I haven't played that one yet. I kind of peeked through it, but you have cyborg and robots, and so it has a much more futuristic feel to it, so the stories would have kind of more of those elements in there. This game is so amazing, and I think it's an amazing activity to do as a couple, personally, but I guess give it a try and see what you think. So that was all the games that we've covered this month. If you want to follow us on Instagram, my name is on Instagram is boardgame_mama, and we're also Games and Couples. On Facebook, my Facebook page is Disbury and Area is playing all the games, as well as Games and Couples Love in the Age of Board Game. And then on YouTube, my YouTube channel is Board Game Mama, and we also have Games and Couples Love in the Age of Board Games. So be sure to tune in next month to see the rest of the games that we'll be showcasing in the upcoming month. Bye everybody.